Sometimes we come up with these brilliant ideas to solve our biggest problems. But what if the perfect solution accidentally destroys the world? We're about to walk through a thought experiment that starts out as this beautiful utopian dream, and then, well, it spirals into a complete global nightmare.
Just imagine that for a second. What if we could, with one single act, end droughts, stop famines, and wipe out the wars fought over water? What if we could somehow make every single drop of ocean water fresh and totally drinkable?
I mean, that is an almost unimaginable amount of pure, life-giving water. It really does sound like the ultimate solution, doesn't it? A perfect world where thirst is just a distant memory. Seriously, what could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, everything. That utopian fantasy, it would last for maybe a few hours before it kicked off this horrifying cascade of failures that would leave our planet, well, completely unrecognizable. That beautiful dream would become our final planet-killing nightmare. So the very first domino to fall isn't biological, it's physical. The actual engine that runs our planet's climate would just seize up and grind to a halt. Okay, so this first domino is a system called the thermohaline circulation. The easiest way to think about it is like Earth's circulatory system. It's this massive, great conveyor belt in the ocean that moves warm water from the tropics all the way up to the poles. And it's driven by two really simple things. Temperature, that's the thermo part, and salt content, the haline part. This circulation is literally the only reason that places like Europe have the climate they do, and not, Siberian-level winters. And the way it works is actually pretty simple. Right now, as water in the North Atlantic gets cold, all that salt in it makes it incredibly dense, so it sinks. This sinking action is what literally pulls more warm water up from the south, acting like a giant planetary pump. But if that water is suddenly fresh, it's way less dense. So it gets cold, sure, but it doesn't sink. It just kind of floats there on the surface. And the entire conveyor belt just stops. Dead. And the result of shutting down that system is immediate, and it is absolutely catastrophic. With the planet's heat pump switched off, the northern hemisphere gets plunged into an instant ice age. I mean, we are talking about the Gulf Stream, that huge river of warmth in the ocean, just vanishing. All heat transfer to the north just stops. The temperatures in cities like London and Paris would plummet to match Siberia, and all of our agriculture in Europe and North America, gone, just completely annihilated. But here's the thing. As terrifying as a new ice age sounds, what happens next, in the oceans, is an even more profound, more absolute horror. It's a biological holocaust that starts at the microscopic level. And it all comes down to a process called osmotic shock. This right here, this is the key to the entire biological catastrophe. To put it simply, there's a fundamental rule in biology. Water will always move from an area of low salt concentration to an area of high salt concentration, period. So let's think about this. Every single cell in every single marine animal, from the tiniest piece of plankton to a giant blue whale, is salty on the inside. It's perfectly balanced with the salty ocean that's on the outside. But now in our scenario, the outside is pure fresh water. That creates a catastrophic imbalance, and the law of osmosis is absolute. Water has to rush in. The result is, well, it's horrifying. The fresh water invades every single marine cell. It swells it up just like a water balloon being overfilled at a tap, until, pop, it explodes. And this happens to every cell in every sea creature, pretty much all at once. The results of this planet-wide osmotic shock, an extinction event that is just beyond comprehension. We're talking 99% of all marine life. Dead. Not over decades, not over years. We're talking minutes and hours. The oceans become a silent, floating graveyard. And the world that comes after this mass death event isn't empty and clear. Oh no. It is choked and rotting and foul. The apocalypse gives way to a kind of planetary infection. So what happens next? Well, now you have billions upon billions of tons of dead organic matter just rotting in the water. This releases a massive surge of nutrients. And this new, fresh, nutrient-rich ocean becomes the absolute perfect petri dish for the only things that really survived, freshwater algae. So the blue planet is just gone. Instead, the world's oceans become a global swamp.
A thick, viscous, green, slimy soup that chokes the surface from shore to shore. And this kicks off a deadly chain reaction. First, these massive algae blooms cover everything, blocking all the sunlight from getting through. Then, as all that algae dies and decomposes, bacteria just devour every last molecule of oxygen in the water. The result is a planet-sized anoxic event. The oceans become these vast, toxic swamps, bubbling with methane and hydrogen sulfide, which, by the way, is the smell of rotten eggs, just everywhere.
So, after all that, what are we left with? It's not our Earth anymore. We've created an alien world, one that is somehow simultaneously freezing, rotting, and being battered by unimaginable storms. Let's just take stock of this new reality. The poles are now locked in expanding ice. The oceans have become a toxic green slime. And the atmosphere, well, fresh water evaporates way more easily, so the air becomes saturated with moisture. This would feel storms so powerful, we'd probably have to invent a new name for them. Something like Hypercanes.
Oh, and here's one last little practical twist for you. Salt water is denser than fresh water, right? That extra density gives ships more buoyancy. The second the oceans turned fresh, every single heavily loaded cargo ship on the planet would lose about 2.5% of its buoyancy and just sink. Global trade would literally vanish in an instant.
Which really brings us to this one inescapable conclusion. The salt in our oceans isn't just some incidental detail. It's a critical gear in the entire planetary machine. It is the silent preservative that keeps our world from becoming this hellscape, a world that is both rotting and freezing at the exact same time.
And all of this leaves us with a final and pretty chilling question. Our world is this impossibly complex system balanced on countless hidden variables, just like the salinity of the water. So, if something so simple, so seemingly insignificant, can hold everything together, what other invisible pillars that support our entire world have we not even noticed yet?